Gretchen, hey, congratulations for your documentary, Shouting Down Midnight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
More of a congratulations that this fascinating film, is being showcased at South by Southwest. Tell us about how you feel about that.
Oh my God, it's so exciting. Well, first of all, Austin's my hometown, so I feel like I'm, kind of making good here. But more importantly, most of this film took place in Austin. The events the events at the Capitol happen 11 blocks away from where the film will screen, and most of the characters in the film, I think they maybe all live. Well, almost all of them live here now. So. It's just it's really nice that it's premiering where it all happened. And of course, South by Southwest is just one of the most exciting festivals to be at, much less be in, much less premiere at. So I'm just thrilled. I'm really thrilled.
I was gonna say you're showcasing a film that took place in such a, how can you say, such a divisive community, and this. So do you expect charged reactions possibly?
I don't know what to expect. I haven't. Maybe people are shielding me from from non-supportive feedback at the moment. I don't know. I have a feeling it's not going to be on anybody's radar. I don't know if the other side is going to bother with it or know about it. But in a funny way, I'm sort of ready for it. Like I sort of feel like, well, bring it on, really. Like, welcome, watch the movie and then we'll talk.
So what initially sparked you to do this documentary? Did someone invite you, or you saw it on the news? What did this for you?
Well, funnily enough, I work in transportation. My day job is in transportation policy. And on the day of the filibuster, although all of the senators had agreed to pass a transportation bill before the filibuster, they didn't. The lieutenant governor called this bill first. And so that meant that the entire 7th floor of the Department of Transportation headquarters building was being paid to watch her talk about lady parts for 13 hours while we were waiting for the transportation bill to come up. And that was kind of funny. And I was, but of course, like everybody else, it was really a wake-up call for me. I grew up in the 70s and I just took Roe for granted, Roe v. Wade. There was like, I read, The Handmaid's Tale when it came out, and I just thought, oh, good thing that'll never, ever happen here. Never happen. And so I wasn't really paying attention in the decade before the filibuster in Texas to realize that our lawmakers were passing little bill by little bill this sort of set of obstacles to abortion. And when I sat down at my desk that day to wait on transportation, I started to have this horrible, prickly feeling on the back of my neck, like, oh, they are shoving us into that dystopian future. And I didn't know. And I was completely alarmed and freaked out. And at the same time, really, not just inspired, but like I felt protected, by this person who was willing to stand and speak out for people with uteruses for that long, and to be as articulate and eloquent as she was about it, and as compassionate, not just technical about what the bill would do, but how it is going to affect our lives and make us feel, and why that is corrosive and bad for democracy. And so, in the weeks following, I would get up on Saturday mornings and rewatch this thing and over again, and just think like, well, someone needs to make a film about this. I mean, it's not going to be me. I got a job. Films are hard. I don't want to do that again. But one morning I had been watching for maybe an hour or two, and I went outside to paint some paint chips to figure out what color paint to paint my bedroom wall. And I was thinking, well, there's really, how could you possibly make 13 hours of people in suits talking about policy interesting? I was riveted, but who would be, And I thought, well, you would do it by through the letters that she read. You know, she read people's letters who had written in with their abortion stories or their really strong opinions against the bill. And I thought, well, that's the only way you do it. And from then on, this idea never left, you know, and I kept saying, like, I don't have any money. I don't have the time. Some grown up is going to make this film, like, leave me alone. And it just wouldn't go away. And there were other films kind of that were being kicked around that I heard about, or, you know, ideas being kicked around about films, but then they never got made. And so so I said to the film, if she doesn't win the governor's race, I'll think about it. And she didn't. And so that was, I guess, December 2014. And that's when I, you know, created the LLC and said, okay, let's try. So that's how that happened.
So when you approached Wendy about this film, what was her initial reaction? Did it take much convincing?
I think I met her through a friend that we had in common. And so I think I had someone speaking for me to assure her that I wasn't a nutball and that, you know, she could probably trust me. I still think it took a long time for her to really trust me. You know, we shot this film over many years, and it took a long time before we could get really any verite with her and kind of get her to open up. But I think part of maybe what made her like it was not just the film, which I'd always wanted to make, but I had forgotten about this until recently. But from the beginning, I thought that there should be a film, and that would be for me, because that's what I do. And that would be how I would make this event meaningful for me. But there should also be this like component or some set of modules that would be like some transmedia product that would be made for young women, that coming out of this filibuster, you could talk about how to become a lawyer, how to become a senator, how to become a doctor. Half the people on the Senate floor are doctors. You know, how to become that effective person that you want to be. You could spin off so many different topics, right, from what happened that day and who all were players that day. And I had that idea really strongly in mind. And when I told that to the friend that we had in common, and he said, oh, she's going to love that idea. She's going to love that. So I think maybe it was that idea that not just the film, but in whatever form it took, that it could be this support kind of development support tool for young women.
So when Wendy came on board, so then how did you approach these other young women who were inspired by Wendy? I mean, where did you find them?
Well, so Sadie Hernandez, I found across the street from where I worked when she did her standing against Governor Abbott, because I worked right across the street from the governor's mansion. And so for those 17 days where she was standing outside, you know, I would drive by looking for parking, and there she was with her sign that said, you know, honk if you hate cancer. And I was like, who is that? Who is that girl? You know? When I started to make this film, I ran into her. I was always at rallies, you know, one or another rally at the Capitol, because that's where so much was happening, and mentioned her to someone. And she said, well, she's right over there. I know her if you want to meet her. And so I met her on the steps of the Capitol, I guess. And, you know, she's such a rising star, and she's like very, very active on social media. And, you know, she is her own platform, you know, and so she allowed me in a little bit. And then Krithika, we met through Deeds Not Words, which is Wendy's organization. Again, at some Capitol shoot, because we were just at the Capitol all the time. We were there working with them, and just, you know, in a break, one of Wendy's staffers said, oh, you got to meet this girl. She's, you know, this 15-year-old girl started this menstrual equity program in her high school. And I was like, what? Who does that when you're 16 years old, 15 years old? So that's how we met Krithika. And she had just reached out to them and just started to ask them for their support to help her figure out, you know, how to get to the next level. And so we got to be there for those events with her, and it was so amazing. And we just saw her again for the first time in a couple of years. And it was kind of a new crew, except for my cinematographer and everyone. And she's still young. She's still 21 or 22. And everyone was like, oh my God, I've just never met anyone so articulate and amazing and brilliant. And my cinematographer and I were like, She was that way in high school. She actually hadn't changed that much. Like, she's clearly born that way.
So was it hard to gather all this footage? I'm guessing a lot of this is just public footage that that you just had to piece together and just edit to come up with the story.
A lot of it, most of the interviews are ours, most of the verite is ours, but a lot of it is either archival, you know, that we license from an archive house, or a lot of it really is people that we know or were introduced to who were there that day and shooting, that we license from. Mostly it was people, you know, who had been there, and we managed to find them, but it was quite a search to find. And I'm sure there's more out there, but, you know, it was really sort of like, anybody at the Capitol with a camera that day kind of effort. So yeah, it was quite a puzzle to put together all of that.
Absolutely. Now this is a fairly political film. Good thing you know, I used to have a background in politics, so I understand you know, some of these rules and filibuster and all this kind of stuff. But was it challenging for you to trying to, you know, narrate this film in the way that normal populace could understand?
That wasn't boring. Yes. Well, I mean, and that was one of the storytelling challenges, was how to translate Gretchen policy dork excitement into film audience excitement. And of course, it took like a lot of narration on the part of people who were there, who were telling, you know, who could sort of talk about why particular moments were interesting or compelling, or why so much was at stake after strike two, you know. But it took a little convincing of my editor that we needed to like include the debate, and we needed to talk about all the strikes, you know, and everything. But I hope that I translated my, you know, edge of the seat suspense for the outcome that I felt watching it. I mean, and, you know, everyone who was there, everybody, I had gone home. It was like midnight. I was like, what has just happened? I can't tell things are falling apart. Oh my God, what's going to happen? So hopefully we were able to do that. And there was so much excitement and so much activity outside the chamber. And, you know, sometimes we have worried since January 6th that it'll look like an insurrection or something. But, you know, there were people there in their sandals with their teeny weeny babies, you know, like this was not a threat, you know, but the level of excitement was still pretty surprising.
Absolutely. Well, Gretchen, let me wrap it up with one more question. As audiences at South by Southwest going to watch your film, and hopefully more people will watch it in the future, what is the one most important take that you hope they walk away with?
I hope that people will see that being engaged publicly, you know, engaged in policy making, engaged in democracy, can be not only not boring, but it can also not be lonely. They're, you know, working with other people. It's easier than you think to work with your represented officials. It's easier than you think to find people to help you with your effort. And that imperfect and messy and corrupt as it can be, democracy can, not necessarily is, but can still be a system where all the rules apply to all the people. And that's something that actually we can help, and we can help our lawmakers. We can support them in making sure that happens.
Great. Well said. Well, this is such a never-ending story. I feel like there's more chapters to come. But Gretchen, for now, thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us, and hopefully we'll see more and more of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.